Hi guys, I wrote this paper on spirituality and I will read it to you. It's entitled Why Scientists Are Not Willing to Investigate the Spirit World. The first reason comes from what happened in the Middle Ages. During that time, philosophers who studied science faced an enormous challenge when they made their discoveries, which proved the church theories wrong. Their works would be declared heresy and they would be burnt at the stake. These activities caused scientists, who at the time were known as philosophers, to divide science into two parts, the material and non-material. These activities also brought the demonizing of scientists and other people who would support the new scientific findings, which the church had declared heresy. Here is what Peter Russell, a member of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, said in the video Primacy of Consciousness about that. And I quote, Descartes said he didn't want to get himself burnt at the stake like Bruno got when Bruno supported Copernicus. So he said, let us natural philosophers, which would later be known as scientists, we would study the world of things in space and the world of the mind we would leave to the church. End quote. So this is where the split began between the church and science caused by the church. While this quagmire today continues today, it looks more like the revenge of the nerds. The situation can be argued that scientists is paying back the church for what they did to them in the Middle Ages, because the same arrogance that was in the church at the time is the same arrogance that is in many scientists. That arrogance today has evolved into what is called science taboo of psi. A quote from the video Science and the Taboo of Psi, Dean Radin, senior scientist from the Institute of Noetic Sciences, explores this taboo, and I quote, something seems to be going on, but why didn't you learn about it in college? Why don't you ever hear about this on mainstream science media? It's because of that. It's this boo taboo. Some people think that there are no taboos in science, like science is supposed to be open and freewheeling, but that is not the case. There are 17,500 institutions of higher learning around the world. There is roughly 50 academics who are openly interested in psi. That includes proponents and skeptics. 50, which means the academic interest level is 3%. 99.7% of all academia in the world don't have a single person identified of interest, pro or con. That's a taboo. End quote. The arrogance of scientists is evidence that reveals a deeper reason why they altogether don't want to and have on many occasions tried to do away with the subject altogether, but failed. The deeper reason is the biblical teachings of creation and spirituality. Let us examine what Charles Lyell had to say about that in a letter he wrote to George Paulet Scrope on the 14th of June 1830, and I quote, "Free the science from Moses." Anyone who has studied history of the 1800s knows that is when opposition to the Bible really began in science, and there is a clear pattern of opposition that can be seen with these three books written at the same time. They are James Hutton, The Theory of the Earth, Charles Lyell's Principle of Geology, and Darwin's Origin of Species. They had begun to free the science from Moses. Another major contributor in freeing the science from Moses is Wilhelm Wundt, also known as the father of psychology. I have reason to believe that he played a great role in determining that science should not be used to investigate the spirit. Here is a quote from him, and I quote, "It truly appears to be a waste of energy to keep returning to such aimless discussions about the nature of the psyche, which were in vogue for a while and practically still are, instead rather of applying one's energies to where they will produce real results. To Hunt, a thing made sense and was worth pursuing if it could be measured, quantified, and scientifically demonstrated. Seeing no way to do this with the human soul, he proposed that psychology concern itself with experience. This quote was taken from the book Revelation in Education, Soviet Style, written by Charlotte Iserby. Wilhelm Wundt's work was studied by Watson and Skinner, who developed an animal behavioral training program called operant conditioning. The premise of the training is to change the mental response to information from thinking about the information to reacting to it without the use of thinking. In that mental state, a person can be programmed like a computer to only react to information with all thinking bypass. I call it robot training philosophy. Here's how it works. A particular behavior is taught to a person. For example, a person is told to sit every time they see a red light, and it is taught to them as many times as is required for the person to, as soon as they see a red light, just sit naturally without thinking. During the training, the behavior could be enforced negatively or positively, but the goal is to extract the use of thinking. Critical thinking is needed for the survival of a person. Without it, you will surely die. The conclusion of the matter is mainstream science's interpretation of their findings is not governed by facts, but it is dictated by many agendas, including the New World Order, which is the ultimate agenda all other agendas are working towards. One of the tasks that the New World Order implementers have to accomplish is to dumb down the people in all countries of the world in order to retrain them to be permanent slaves. But that cannot be accomplished if the belief in God is not destroyed. So the implementers' plan has been to promote everything that destroys all godliness. The godliness that's being destroyed is the real godliness, but the fake one is promoted because it destroys the real one. Well, guys, I took a long time to do research and to prepare my paper. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.